Hello, and welcome to Torch Talk. It is Friday, July 10th, 2026. And as you can tell from my greeting, yes, I did see Minions and Monsters. I saw it last Thursday, not yesterday, but the week before Thursday, and I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was great entertainment. It was a good summer movie. And it was really cool love letter to making movies, to Hollywood, a lot of Easter eggs in there. So make sure you pay attention because I read about some that I didn't even catch after I saw the movie. So I definitely want to see it again and see if I can catch more. I saw in the end credits, it said something about Bruce Lee's estate giving permission for his likeness. And I didn't even see Bruce Lee in the movie. So I need to watch it again and see what is going on. We also have some new Minions we meet. We meet James, who's the filmmaker, and that's his passion, and Henry, who helps him out. And we meet Ed, who is a hearing-impaired Minion and has his own sign language, which I thought was really great. It was kind of a mixture of actual ASL along with Minionese sign language. And what's interesting is the director, Pierre Coffin, in an interview he did that I saw, he didn't realize that each country has their own version of sign language, which I guess why it's called American Sign Language and not just sign language. But so he had to have people help him to figure out, well, how is he supposed to do this? So maybe everyone could kind of get an idea what he's saying. But yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. Now, I'm not saying it was perfect. I will admit that I didn't like it as much as I did the last Despicable Me movie and the last Minions movie. And I just felt like at some points it was a little slow, especially in the beginning. Because in the beginning it starts with this tour group and they're touring this movie museum. And the tour guide, who is voiced by Allison Janney, she's showing them, different filmmakers, Spielbergs and stuff like that. And then she gets to the Minions, and no one knows who the Minions are. So it's just kind of like, okay, let me explain who the Minions are. So, and that starts like explaining about them with their tribes, and we see flashbacks of them trying to find their evil master to serve. And that, for me, even though it was funny, it kind of slowed it down a little bit because we've already seen that in the original Minions. We saw them working for Napoleon and Attila the Hun and Dracula, and I don't think we really needed to see that again. I get part of the reason why they did it is because they, at one point, they're with this wizard and they take his book, which is how they conjure these monsters later on in the movie. But I just felt like maybe they could have just done that. Like maybe we get a quick flashback to, after so many masters, they thought they finally found the right one with the wizard. And then boom, ba, boom, they get the book and they leave. And that's when they end up in Hollywood. And they become the stars of Hollywood, making all these great silent movies. They're kind of like the new Keystone Cops. But then once sound comes into the picture, of course, no one understands what the hell they're saying. So then they find themselves on the outs, homeless from their big mansion, which is hysterical. But when you see, I don't want to give anything away, but when you see them popular and rich, the stuff they do, it just kind of cracks me up, making fun of old Hollywood and all the hedonism, and it's really, really funny. But once they're poor, they're sleeping in a warehouse, and that's when James comes up with the idea to make a Minions and Monsters movie. So he takes it to Max, who was a director who hired them, and he's voiced by Christoph Waltz. And Max thinks it's a great idea, but now that they're not in the studio, how are they going to make it, and where are they going to get the monsters? And that's when James and Henry come up with the idea to use this book to conjure the monster. And when they conjure what they think is going to be this huge, huge monster, it turns out to be this cute little thing named Goomy. And Goomy is voiced by Trey Parker of South Park. And it really cracks me up because I read in an interview and then actually saw in a video that in order to get the voice of Goomy, which is an adorable voice, I didn't even believe it was him at first, he had to put his fingers in his mouth, all of his fingers in his mouth, and talk. And that's how he got the voice of Goomy, which was pretty funny. Because he didn't want it to sound like any of the South Park characters, which I understand because he did the voice of the villain in Despicable Me 3, Battlestar Brat, and I knew it was him because he just kind of sounded like a variation of the news reporter in South Park. So I knew, like, oh, that's Trey Parker doing that voice. Until I read about it in an article before the movie came out, just from the trailers, I had no idea he was the one doing Goomy. And I don't want to give anything away, but Goomy might not be all that he seems. Another reason I guess I didn't enjoy it as much, and this one's all on me, is I watched too many of the clips on YouTube. I do that all the time and then regret it. I don't know why. It's like Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And it's like an addiction. I see them on YouTube. I watch the clips, and then that ends up being like the best part of the movie. In this case, the funniest parts of the movie. But like I said, that was all me. That was all on me. But overall, it was really good. I guess sometimes it just kind of feels like it felt like two movies. It's almost like someone came up with the idea, hey, wouldn't it be cool to make a movie honoring old Hollywood and filmmaking? And someone else said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if the Minions met up with monsters? And then they just kind of combined that into two films. So most of the beginning of it, we're seeing the whole Hollywood thing. Then it gets into the monsters when Goomy summons these two big monsters, one of which is Irene. And she's just this huge blob with a bunch of eyes. I'm sure you've seen it on the key art for the movie and then on the merchandise. And I just love that instead of having these evil names, the big blob monster is Irene. One of the other monsters is named Howard. Bobby Moynihan does it, the voice of one of the monsters. Phil Lamar does the voice of the other monster. I'm a big Phil Lamar fan. I don't know if you don't know him. He did the voice of Static Shock on the Kids WB cartoon Static Shock, which I used to work at Kids WB, so I kind of have a soft spot for it. He was the Green Lantern in the Justice League series, animated series, and he also is the voice of Samurai Jack, the Adult Swim series. And in case you haven't noticed, I am a huge animation fan, animation geek, even the voice actors. But so that was really funny. I'll admit, like, I did kind of miss seeing the old Minions. Like, they wanted to do new Minions, so this one didn't have Bob, who is my favorite Minion, and Kevin and Stuart. And I get it, we've seen them in the first two movies, we've seen them in the Despicable Me films. They want to do something different. We needed a story that fit with the filmmaking aspect, so they have James and they have Henry, and let's face it, we need to sell more toys, we need to sell more plushies, because you can tell it's James and Henry because they each have blue eyes. Well, James has blue eye. He only has one eye. My favorite of the new Minions, even though he does not have a big part in it, is Greg. And that is because my Bichon, who passed away in 2017, his name was Greg, R.I.P. Greg. And so that was just, like, adorable. He was an adorable dog, and this was an adorable Minion. I kind of wish there'd be a Greg plushie or something like that, some kind of toy. I doubt it because, like I said, he's not really a big part of the movie. But he does help at the end. There's some other aspects. There's this robot claiming to be from another planet named Dort, and he's voiced by Jesse Eisenberg, and it didn't even sound like him. I guess, I don't know if he used some kind of thing to disguise his voice, but it was weird because I'd seen stories that he did one of the voices, and as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, where's Jesse Eisenberg? And with Dort, we kind of don't know if he's a human in a robot costume thinking that he's from another planet and saving the world, or if he actually is a robot from another planet. He falls in love with, I forget the character's name, but Zoe Deutsch does her voice, and then he helps them with Suffragette, because it takes place during that time, which was interesting, but I don't know, did we really need that or not? I'm not really sure. But overall, yeah, it was a very entertaining movie. Like I said, I want to watch again because I caught to catch the references I didn't catch the first time. I caught a lot of the old Hollywood ones. There's a lot of silent movie tributes in the beginning to Harold Lloyd and Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, and that part's really cool, especially if you're a total movie geek like me and you admire modern cinema, but you also love the classics like Casablanca and Modern Times. So that part was fun. So yeah, overall, it was a good movie. It was funny, and go ahead and see it. I think you'll enjoy it. I also saw, switching gears a whole 180 last week, the Wednesday before I saw the Minions, I went and finally checked out Backrooms. because initially I kind of heard about it and I didn't really have any interest in it. And then I kept hearing about all the hype it was getting, and then it's making a shitload of money. So I watched the trailer again, and I thought, okay, well, it is kind of creepy. It did look kind of spooky. So let me go check it out. And I did. And I don't know. I know I'm going to be in a minority for this and maybe get some hate for this, but I don't get the hype. I was really underwhelmed by it. I don't know if it's because it had such big hype that I was expecting it to be a whole lot more than it was. But yeah, I just thought it was okay. I thought it moved really slow. I know there's, a lot of horror movies have that slow burn, which I like, where you're kind of chill, and then all of a sudden, bam, you get a jump scare. But I thought this was like an extremely slow burn build up. There were points, honestly, I felt myself nodding off a little bit, kind of like shaking myself awake. So yeah, I mean, I admired its originality. I loved the sets of the back rooms. They were creepy with all the different stairs and things above you and things below you. The cast was good. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I always get his name wrong. I apologize. He was good. And I know that Kane Parsons, the director, I know, like, starting when he was, 14 or 16, he started doing this as a web series on YouTube. I haven't checked those out yet. And now he's 20 years old, and he made his feature debut with this movie. It's made a shitload of money. I think it's the highest grossing film released by A24 in their history so far. Marty Supreme was up a few months ago, and now Backrooms overtook it. But, yeah, I mean, I just thought it was okay. Maybe I need to see it again. Like I told you in my last episode, there's lots of movies that I just don't like the first time that I see them, and by the second time, I love them. Maybe I'll give it another chance. I just thought it was weird. I'm all for, mystery and stuff, but I thought I could have used a more explanation of where, how did these back rooms show up? What I don't get is why didn't, Clark, who owns this furniture store, why didn't he fall through one of those portals years and years ago? I mean, he sleeps in that basement every night. Why didn't he, because him and his wife separated, why didn't he ever fall through one before that? The lights are always flickering on and off all throughout the store, so I guess you have to admire that the ghosts, they're conservative. They're helping the environment by turning the lights off. And I think the real horror of the film is all that unused real estate going on the other side there, and all that furniture and clothes that are just back there doing nothing. No one's using them. And, if Clark had a garage sale with all that stuff, he probably could have paid off all of his debt, saved the store, and not go insane. But, yeah, so that's my take on Backrooms. Let me know in the comments what you thought of it. I'm sure a lot of you loved it. Maybe some of you were underwhelmed as I was. It does make me wonder about what I should do about Obsession, because I haven't seen that, and that's been getting lots of hype. The thing that makes me laugh, though, about Obsession is I read some stuff online how here in LA, there are two things that have become really big tourist attractions since Obsession came out. There's this Italian restaurant in North Hollywood called Little Tony's, and everyone's going there now because I guess there's a scene where they eat dinner there. And I had been there a while ago. It was really good. And if you want to look it up, it's actually Toni, Little Tony's, not Tony, which makes me think if it's owned by a woman and her name is Antoinette, because my grandmother's name was Antoinette. We didn't call her Tony, but I know some people that their name is Antoinette, and it's Toni. And they have great food. If you're ever out here, if you're here in LA, if you're coming to visit, check it out. They have really good old-fashioned Italian food, what we say, the red sauce. But there was a funny article about it in the Hollywood Reporter that one of the customers, this older woman who goes there all the time, couldn't figure out why it was so crazy busy on a Monday night, because there's been long lines for people waiting to get in. There's been long waits by people who want to sit at the specific table that the character sat at. So I just thought that was funny that this poor woman's like, what is going on at my favorite restaurant? And then I guess he buys something at this magic store called the Green Man. And what was funny was, before I read this article and knew anything about this, I actually parked in front of the Green Man in Burbank because it's across the street from my dentist. And my dentist doesn't have any parking for patients. Isn't that fun? So you have to park on the street. And I parked in front of the store, the Green Man, and it's saying about this magic and this and that. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this place? And there's no windows, can't really look in. Honestly, I was a bit afraid to go into the store just from the windows and the stuff that it sells there. And then when I read the article, I read he goes and gets this thing called a wishing willow or wish away willow, and that's how he gets this girl to like him. But it just made me laugh. Like I saw the picture, and I was like, hey, I just parked in front of that place a couple of weeks ago. So that made me laugh. It's probably going to be a short episode, not much going on, and I know you guys are probably busy. Want to get out there and do your weekend stuff. I have a little comic book stuff to talk about real quick. If any of you are into that, if you're not, I apologize. But listen anyway, you might want to get into it. DC has a new series. It's not very new. It's been going on since, I guess, the fall, maybe late fall, early winter. It's called Absolute. And it's kind of like taking place in a different universe and almost like a what if. So there's an absolute Wonder Woman and an absolute Wonder Woman. Instead of her being born in Themyscira, she came from hell. She was raised from hell in hell. Absolute Batman. He's not a millionaire. He's not a billionaire. He's just like middle class. It's not his parents that were killed, but it's just his father that was killed. And he still becomes Batman, and they reinvent that character. They reinvent all the villains, which is really interesting. And I'll admit, like, I was subscribing to all of them at first. Some of them I liked, some of them I wasn't really crazy about. But, it was just getting too much. I'll admit I have a tad bit OCD. And for me, it just gets to the point where it's not fun anymore. It's like work, because I feel like I have to read all these comics before the next week comes and the next new comics come. So, and then I end up not doing anything else because, like, I won't read a book until I finish the comics, but it's just never ending because by the time I finish the comics, the new week is here with the new comics. So it's a vicious circle. And yeah, I know, I have a touch of OCD, so I cut down on a lot of my pool box just so I wasn't getting as many. And also, as I may have mentioned, I was laid off last June 2025. Still haven't found work, so I've been cutting down on my spending, and unfortunately, as much as I like to think so, comic books are not a necessity, so I've been cutting down on them. But when I read in the description about Absolute Green Arrow, it just kind of fascinated me, because I've always been a Green Arrow fan, even though really he's not that much of an exciting character. I mean, I worked at the CW, and we had the show Arrow, and it was a really good show, but I felt like most of it was just kind of using Batman's villains, because Green Arrow doesn't really have that many of his own villains. So, like, they use Ra's al Ghul, and the Timekeeper, and they're all like Batman villains, and I thought they kind of portrayed Oliver Queen more as a Bruce Wayne. But I do like the character in the comics, and this is interesting because in this comic, it's more of a horror mystery thriller. It's like a slasher, and it's written by, and I know I'm going to mess up this name. It's written by, it's spelled Pornsak. I don't know if it's pronounced Pornsak or Pornsock or something like that. If it is pronounced Pornsak, definitely would have changed that name. And his last name is Piché-Chote, and he is the writer. Raphael Albuquerque is the artist. Marcelo Maiolo does the colors, and Jeff Powell does the letters. And it's really cool. So in this version of Green Arrow, Oliver Queen and his roommate in college, they have started their own trading company to make trading stocks cheaper for the regular person, and it's called Green Arrows Trading, and the logo is a green arrow. When it starts in the present, Oliver Queen has been murdered, and they found his dead body washed up on the shore, so they have a body. It's not something where maybe he's dead, maybe he's not. His body's on the shore. But recently, there's been an archer, dressed up, all in green, and using a green arrow like the logo of that company, and he's starting to murder people in Star City, billionaires, people that it looks like maybe they had something to do with Oliver Queen's murder. Oliver Queen's roommate and partner is pretty much a pedophile. It's a very Epstein-esque character, and when it starts out, he's been killed by this murderer. And it's really cool. He has this really cool mask, this really cool skull mask, and he does all this really cool stuff. But we don't know who it is. I mean, obviously, we all think, okay, it must be Oliver Queen. He's getting revenge on whoever killed him, and these are the people that were involved. And who knows? Maybe it is Oliver Queen. Maybe there's some way with the body. We don't know. But so Dinah Lance, who, if you know the Green Arrow universe, she's Black Canary. In this one, she's retired MMA fighter, and she's now a bodyguard for the rich and assholes, as she calls them. And she stumbles upon some things. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to ruin it. And she's trying to figure out who killed Oliver Queen, what was he doing before he was murdered, because she discovers some stuff in what they call the Arrow Cave, because it is a cave. But it's really cool. It's like a really cool horror movie. It's like a horror movie for like horror. It's a good mystery. It's a good thriller. If you have a weak stomach, it's very graphic, so you may want to skip it if you do. But check it out. So far, there's only been 2 issues, so it's not that you're not that behind. If you want to catch up, I actually was behind and got the first 2 issues, and I'm all caught up. But definitely check it out and see who is this murderer. Is it indeed Oliver Queen? And if it is, how did he come back from the dead, and whose body was that? So yeah, check that all out. Yeah, so I guess that's about all I got for this week. Give you guys a break. It's very short. Give you a few shameless plugs before I leave. You can find me on Patreon and Substack if you want to subscribe at either or both. There's free and paid subscriptions because guys got to eat, especially when he's unemployed after a year. You can find me at Mario Torch on Instagram, TikTok, and X. And you can also find the podcast on Instagram at Torch Talk Podcast. I won't be here next week. I'm going away. I'm going to Las Vegas, where I will probably melt. So there won't be a podcast next week. But if I do make it back, there should be one the week after. So make sure you guys behave yourselves while I'm away. And have a great weekend. See y'all later. Bye-bye.